Hello, everybody, and welcome to our next call together. In the earth element is where we are now, transforming worry into clarity. And for today's session, I invite you to find a seated position just to begin. Standing and laying is also fine too. Just finding a nice, comfy, cozy place for your body to really just settle in and connect to the earth in whatever meaningful way that speaks to you. And as you settle in to the earth below you, let's just see how much can soften here. As you scan your body mind, noticing any muscles that might be holding, that might be attempting to hold you up. Just looking at the pelvis, the abdomen, seeing if that is willing to soften just a little bit more and allow you to sink even deeper into that support of the earth below you. And as you soften into this earth, also knowing that this is the connection to Mama Earth that we've referred to before, to Pachamama. Pick your favorite name for it all. You can also choose, if you're open and it feels comfy, cozy to do so, to receive this Mama energy, this Mother energy, this maternal love. Yeah. And perhaps as you receive that, the body may be willing to even soften just a little bit more. Just honoring this dance with receiving support, with receiving this support from the earth, and all of that symbolizes for you. And this dance of receiving its partner perhaps being the option to provide by means of allowing. Yeah, nothing to do here, just receiving, breathing, and allowing. This dance between you and the earth. And as you settle in here, I invite you just to scan your body, your mind, and notice what's here, noticing what's here for you. And perhaps even after the session, noticing changes, if anything should be different. Just evaluating what's here and now for you. And as you do so, as you're scanning, I'm just going to open by giving thanks to this land, thanks to this earth, and thanks to all those who have stewarded for us before we've walked on it, to all those who were perhaps originally here. Here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan as it's known in other names, its original name may have been known as the home of the Métis, or Territory 6, which followed that name. And giving thanks to all those who have taken care and stewarded this land, this earth, that we get to walk on, that we get to receive its support, its grace, its beauty, its healing, its nourishments, its supports. And giving thanks to all those who have come before you that have also walked this land, your ancestors, your family, that have given rise to this body mind of yours, of you. Thank you for being here and for being you, and welcome. Feel free to make any little micro adjustments that your body mind might be calling for, and know that you can continue to do that at any point in time. If it's available, even before I go into left brain information for you today on this emotion of worry, I invite you, if you're open to, and it's available to do so right now for you, to scan your external environments, looking for something that's pleasant or at the very least neutral to the eye. Looking for something that's pleasant or at the very least neutral, and allowing the gaze to settle on it once you've found it. Scanning up, down, all around, taking a 360 view. Wherever your gaze lands, just allow it to be with this pleasant, neutral object. And begin to scan again your body as you do so. Scanning this body mind as you savor this resource, this object that's pleasant to you. And as you drink it in and allow it to nourish you, as you savor this via means of breathing, take a minute to notice the impact of this on your system. And as you drink this in, imagine now that you can actually breathe it in right into your own body and mind. And as you breathe this in, noticing your body and how it responds. Yeah, it's allowed. It's allowed this feeling. It's allowed these feelings. Feel free to drink in even a little more than that if it feels supportive to you. And when that practice feels complete for you, just allowing that to soften. And feel free, if it feels right to you, to also scan as you release the external resource. Now looking inside for an internal resource. Perhaps there's a part of your body that feels particularly safe. Perhaps there's a memory or a time in which you felt most like yourself that feels really pleasant and neutral. or neutral. Scanning your body, looking for something that's pleasant or at the very least neutral. And when you find that, again, allowing your attention, your focus to settle here. And the invitation is again to savor, to receive this nourishment in this way. Savoring it perhaps like a cool drink on a hot summer day. And as you drink that in again, noticing the impact on your body and mind. And know that these are resources that you can continue to touch in on internally, externally. If you ever feel the need, if there's ever that feeling of, there's a lot happening right now, feel free at any point in time, whenever we're talking and working together, to touch in on those for as long as you like, and then come back to the material at hand when you feel ready to do so. These are recorded, so you're never missing anything. You can have all the time that you need to re-listen, to re-engage in this material in a way that works for you. Okay. And on that note, thank you to all of those shares that I'm seeing out there, you guys. It's right now, it's like landing like a love language for me. So thank you so much for supporting and honoring this work in that way. The call, the invite, if it feels right to you, is to receive these sessions for free, no charge, if you're willing to share them. However, if that feels like it's not your thing, that's okay. There's no pressure. There's no pressure. I'll continue to post the sessions to YouTube and Facebook and also on Vimeo. I have an account there as well, and make them shareable, public, open. And feel free, if you feel so moved to share that with anyone and everyone who you feel may receive some benefit from this work. So as we land in the topic of worry and transforming worry into clarity, I know I've given this spiel a few times now, but in case this is your first time hearing it, perhaps you're starting with this call, and feel free to do them in any order that does move you. There's no right or wrong here. The emotion of, well, let me back up. The emotion word, if we could separate that E out from the word motion, is perhaps a more accurate description of what emotions are. E in physics stands for energy, motion for, well, motion. And then it's really, emotion is nothing more than energy in motion. If we marry that with the TCM, traditional Chinese medicine 5-element theory, it's pretty fascinating to see how these energies were meant to move and support your healing, your vitality. Yeah? And before I dive into the topic at hand, know that, I promise I'm going to get there. The work that we're doing has 5 lessons in total, or 5 sessions. You're not going to want to miss the next one for sure. It's going to work with the emotion of transforming joy and sadness. And wait till you see what those healthy rules are. It works with the energy of the heart. And there's something very, very special about the heart, isn't there? Well, I think there's something not to project onto you all, pretty darn special about the heart. Perhaps you'll agree with me after you hear a little bit more about it. And then, if you've been through this series before, you know it's not uncommon for me to provide some additional follow-up integrations. And I will be doing a bit of an announcement on Friday, and I'll continue to talk about that over the integration sessions. So that announcement is going to be an offer to take a little bit of a deeper dive into support on a weekly basis if you feel so called to. Now, the integration work that will follow on Saturday and on Sunday this week. The times are on the course schedule, as well as on all the emails that I've been sending out, as well as all the posts that I've been sending out. The Saturday one is at 4:30 p.m. MDT time zone, and then Sunday morning at 8 a.m. MDT time zone, just to spice things up in case this time frame that we're offering these ones in wasn't as conducive for some people joining live, depending upon where they lived. Yeah. And how we're going to integrate them, the focus on them, is to show you using the 5-element cycle, the Sheng cycle, the mother-child cycle, how these emotions are meant to be nourished and nurtured and supported and supportive of you and your vitality in return. Okay? We'll also be touching in on, if you remember, if you were there for the first call, that pole of lights that I referred to, the Taji pole, the place where meridians and our chakras interconnect with one another. I'll be tying that all in together. So how do these 5 elements, 5 emotions cycle? How do they support you within this movement of their energy flow as they work together as a team, so to speak? And as we integrate them, working with that in terms of that core of light, okay? Or the Taji pole is its fancy name, if you like fancy names. So that's going to be the focus for the integration session. So if you're curious as to how these can tie in together and how all of these transformations are supportive of one another, that's going to be where the magic continues to integrate. Okay, I promise we're diving into the topic at hand now. The essence here of the emotion of worry is primarily to drive clarity, and while it does so, it's meant to generate nourishment. So the emotional worry drives how it is we think, all of our thought patterns, on both a conscious and a subconscious mind alike. The subconscious is the yin or the feminine, and the conscious mind correlates to the yang, the masculine. The yin and the yang meridians here are the spleen and the stomach, respectively. That spleen is the yin, the feminine, that stomach being the yang or the masculine. And as we work with this marriage, coming into union with these two and allowing the masculine and feminine energies to dance, we're also marrying the different aspects of mind, subconscious and conscious mind alike. When we harness those in the right balance, it does indeed generate a sense of clarity and nourishment. Sometimes there's blockages between those two. Sometimes the veil is too thin between those two. So finding that dynamic responsivity in its healthy balance allows for that sense of not just nourishment, but also one of the correlates here is the taste of sweetness. The taste of sweetness. So it's through the emotion of worry as it gives rise, when your thinking becomes clear, and you have that sweetness of an aha moment, or the sweetness of awareness, as it arises, and as it illuminates the mysterious. That sweetness in its taste form may translate into the smell of also sweetness, or things that are just really fragrant, things that are of the earth. So as blooming is continuing to occur here, we're in this part of the world right now, as we are in the later stages of spring, early stages of summer. It's honestly hard to tell in Saskatchewan. We don't get much of a spring. We get 2 or 3 days of it. We had a shot, I thought, of having it this year. We maybe had a little bit more this year than we normally do. So I'll be grateful for that. And this essence of the time frame that we're in here correlates to that, the capacity to receive change in the essence, in a manner, in a way that provides peacefulness, and then it invites in more sweetness in our lives. So the energies of thought, the energies of the earth, the energies of the dance between the conscious and the subconscious mind are giving rise to the movement of not going inward or outward, but just simply a balance. Simply a balance. And in case I was misleading in any way, shape, or form, you should know that this doesn't actually tie into the essence of spring, but more so the essence of late summer. You know, that stillness that's in the air. In this part of the world, it tends to, I think, land more so in August would be our late summer. And there's just that calm, there's that peacefulness after we've had a few weeks of joyful times and ease with the sunshine. That just settles in. And that also has its own flavor and essence of sweetness. And that's also supposed to be the flavor that is in your mind. The mind is also supposed to have that same capacity to garner sweetness and to produce sweetness and to marinate all of you in sweetness when it's in that right balance. The other element that it often needs to be in balance to provide that is with the heart. So if the mind is attempting to govern, control, cloud the heart in some way, shape, or form, then tougher to find that essence of sweetness and nourishment. Yeah? When the mind is in service to the heart, allowing for the mind to serve the heart by how can we figure out how to think about meeting the heart's desires or allowing the heart's desires to be received and felt by the system, it also creates that gentle space, yeah, of sweetness and nourishment. So, excuse me. There, I think I got it. The astrological houses that these two tie into, the spleen and the stomach, are houses number 3 and 4. So in astrology, they think everything goes through 12 phases, through 12 houses. And the third house is that of the stomach. This is that conscious mind. It works with left brain activity. It works with the planetary energy of Mercury. We happen to be actually in a Mercury retrograde at the time of this recording. So if you're having some havoc with technology, that's a common thing. It's meant to actually slow us down to give our left brains room to breathe. In the Western world, it doesn't usually end up doing that so much in our modern lives as much as it could be supportive in that way. So we end up beating up on Mercury retrograde a lot, self included. I definitely have some interesting fun and games within that too. And it's interesting because the Mercury planetary energy here correlates to our left brain, our conscious mind, our rational, linear, logical thinking mind. And when Mercury goes into retrograde, it's meant to be a time in which we get to reevaluate this. This is actually a really great time to be doing this particular session in. It honestly couldn't have worked out any better. Now, the conscious mind also works with the stomach on the essence of digestion, not just of food, but of life, emotions, events. So the stomach helps us to chew on those things and to process them. Yeah? It's also a part of that gut brain that we tap over, that enteric nervous system. So it works in part with how it is we're embodying. How conscious are you embodying your changes to provide that essence of nourishment and sweetness? Usually that has to happen by slowing down and noticing, especially in our modern Western world these days. This is why we started slow today. It's why we started with resourcing. It's why we took that time to set the stage here for that all to be supportive in this. Let me head to the spleen, house number 4. And the spleen in house number 4 correlates to the planetary energy of the moon. These are the cycles that happen perhaps a little subconsciously, perhaps things that you don't even notice that are playing out. So it often refers to more of the shorter cycles, things like your habitual, instinctual types of patterns. And it also ties in with emotional security. So if we feel emotionally insecure here, it might be because those cycles are taking us for a ride rather than us being aware of what they are and having clarity with those cycles and how they're meant to be supportive for us. Excuse me again. Pardon me. Get some water in me. This 4th house is where things coalesce between taking information from our environment and figuring out who it is we are based on that. And if we don't know who we are, the world tells us who we are, especially when we're in our initial stages of development. My gosh. Apparently I have some things to say. So as this environmental energy begins to tell us who it is we are, and we weave together all those roles, identities, masks, and we become a person, we also sometimes feel like the need, and then we have to protect this little identity of ours that we've built, that we've perhaps hold some charges about as well. That need to protect has its own form of charges too that come with this weaving together of all those different identities and roles and the beliefs that informed us of who it is we were told to be when we were little. So as we work with this, there's a lot of emotion that can be here. This is not an uncommon thing for the spleen to house a lot of excess emotion. And it hangs out, in particular, the spleen meridian actually runs, again, from the inside of the legs out to the outer chest and outer back more so. And the spleen with its emotions in particular tends to, interestingly enough, hang on to those emotions on the subconscious level, the emotions that you don't always show people, and places them near-ish, the back of the heart, heavy on the ish. Could be a little lower, could be a little higher, but that spleen meridian has a sneaky little habit. I commonly, very commonly, bioenergetically see anger in the spleen tying into back pain behind the heart, or that, those aches and pains that just don't seem to shift or change no matter how much you stress or how much you stretch, pardon me. Maybe that was a Freudian slip of the tongue there. That can correlate to some of the things going on with the spleen, which interestingly enough governs your lymph system. I'm tying in a lot of associations here. The lymph system is like the toilet of your body, which we want flushing in one direction only, not backing up. If it does back up, the conditions are not delightful. They're not delightful for the body-mind to have to be in. It's akin to asking your body-mind to heal, to support, to be, to live in a home that has a toilet that won't be flushing and it's just continually backing up. How's that for making things memorable and relatable? All right, y'all. As we go here, if you have any questions, comments, queries, know that you're welcome to pop them on into the chat feature. I'm seeing some laughter. Thank you for appreciating that. And know that I didn't do a whole lot of talking about the muscles, but the big areas where the stomach meridian governs is, and we kind of talked about this a couple days ago, is around the neck, flexors and extensors. And the other big one is that levator scapulae, the one that does this, yeah? When your massage therapist or whoever you can get to dig their thumbs, or perhaps you have a lacrosse ball that you roll out on, and it goes in that juicy spot just around here, yeah? That's that levator scapulae, okay? If we have lots of worry energy and we're trying to honor the thinking processes of the head, we will tend to get a little bit more attention built up there over time and throughout your day even, you'll notice that. The more in our heads we are, the more the body tries to sequester our energy and keep everything up there and prevent us from feeling that burden. So this is how it blocks that. And we'll dive into some of the other muscles. I should mention just one more. Because I sort of touched on it a couple days ago too, the pec major, where it attaches to the sternum we talked about earlier, but where your pec, your chest muscle, attaches to your clavicle, the pectoralis major clavicular, if you like the fancy Latin names, is also very much a stomach muscle, stomach meridian muscle. And it's in this area where, in another modality, it's thought to, on the upper portion, relate to a lot of tension of fear. And worry and fear tend to create a certain measure of anxiety. So it's not uncommon to see that worry in support of the fear, that belt of fear that can run here. Okay? Now, the yin muscles relates to more so the traps and the lats and the back body, which is why we tend to see those spleen emotions there. And there's a couple other little ones too, but those are the major ones for the stomach and the spleen muscles that they govern. All right, loves, without further ado, we're going to dive into the session for today. If you haven't already, I invite you to find a nice, quiet, cozy place where you can either sit or lay and be undisturbed for your session. Taking time to set your body up, taking time to find its sweet spots that it wants to be in. Maybe you need a pillow or a blanket. Maybe you need something else, a knee pillow or a cushion for, like just like right there, wherever it may be. Set yourself up and allow yourself to sink into the space of you. And beginning here by means of breathing. Breathing in this life force energy. Every inhale, an opportunity to receive, to drink in life itself. Every exhale, an opportunity to release, to let go, to embrace change in a peaceful way. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Peace in Sanskrit. Peace, peace, peace. And as you're breathing and embracing the changes that the breath provides with all the peace, or perhaps maybe not, wherever you may be, just noticing and allowing that to be as it is. And allowing the body to sink more softly into that support of the earth below it. Much like a child being held by their mom. Yeah, she's got you now. She's got you. You can let that all go here, right now. Every breath an invitation to sink even a little deeper than that if it's available. Thank you. Thank you for listening to your body mind and listening to what it needs in this moment, in this space. As we begin here, the first piece that's coming up is a cellular repair, which helps to restore cells back to their fullest potential of health. And we're doing it, interestingly enough, for the entire digestive system. How is it relating to change. So change is to change energy. Anytime things get changed, does it feel like it's been blindsided? Does it feel like it's too much to handle? Does it become overwhelming? As we run this cellular repair to support its capacity to have resiliency while changes and fluctuations are happening, we're linking that into all 5 senses. So that way the stomach can healthfully, respond to the dynamic flow of energy that happens as we maneuver through life. So it's going to be using the healthy sensual energy of all 6 senses, if we include intuition and insight here, to help absorb the information at hand, so it doesn't have to be as overwhelming as it seems. So that way the digestive system isn't the one bearing, if you will, like the brunt of that job, like it thought it had to. So as we introduce the digestive system to the capacities of the senses to support in this way, we're allowing it to receive this feminine, this yin, this sensual energy, and drink that in deep within its cells. Yeah. And we're going in now into the microbiome layer and the mucus layer that it lives in, that lines the entire digestive system tract. That microbiome is the healthy population of bugs that's meant to be here. You don't actually eat your food. The bugs here eat your food, and then you eat what they release or what they poop out, if that's not too gross. I don't think anything in the body is gross. I think it's pretty cool. Not everyone shares my sense of niftiness about that all. So as it receives this nutrition in this form, if you've ever thought about bug poop as being nourishing, there you go. There's your little giggle maybe for the day. We're going to support the balance of this healthy microbiome to be here by supporting the, excuse me again, speaking of healthy mucus layers, finding the appropriate amount of mucus to be here. Most of us in the modern Western world have too much buildup here, and it makes it very difficult for nutrition to be absorbed well by the system. It doesn't allow for supplements to be as bioavailable as they could be, for instance. It's like getting through fog, driving through fog, and trying to find where it is you're supposed to be. It just clouds everything over, makes it kind of murky and difficult. So as we work with this microbiome that lives within this mucus layer, it doesn't need to have any confusion either. We're just going to give a little bit of clarity as we release some worry energy from that mucus layer. Okay. So I invite you to take a hand anywhere along your digestive system tract, wherever you feel called to, knowing that it works all the way from mouth to anus. Yeah. And placing a hand wherever feels supportive for you. I'm going to go roughly in the middle. Okay? And as you connect to this energy of worry, I invite you to engage all 5 senses. However they're showing up for you today is perfect. And just notice, does this worry have a certain feeling to it? How does this worry energy feel inside of you? And then noticing, just notice, it might not have any, but just notice if it does, what the taste and the smell of worry are. What's the taste and smell of worry here? And if worry had a sound, a noise, a message, a word, what might that be? What might that be? And feel free to make that noise internally, externally, and express that, and allowing that energy to be supportive in this way. And if worry had an image, a visual, what would it look like? Would it have a color, a texture, or something else? shape, a size. And however it's speaking to you today, invite in all that you observed and make it more seemingly intense, rich, real, present, alive, and here. And as you get into this all, imagine that you can roughly imagine how much shape, imagine how much size there is to this energy. It might have a shape too. It's just roughly the size of a pea, a ping pong ball, a grapefruit, a volleyball, beach ball, or bigger. And as you breathe into this all, loosening up the edges by means of breathing, and allowing this energy to rise, to move with ease right into your hands. And when you breathe it all into your hands, just scooping that up, unhooking it and releasing it from this entire digestive system tract, even though you work with just this one spot. For those of you who prefer the countdown, in 3, 2, 1. Unhooking and releasing, allowing for this worry energy to dissipate. If you like, if it feels like there's a little bit more left there, feel free to take your hand and just do another sweep or two. You could even do the whole pathway if you feel so drawn to. As you wipe off those little bits of dust bunnies, giving that a few slow, deep breaths. I'm just going to tap that piece in here. Thank you. Feel free to take a hand to that same spot where you were working before and just notice what's here. If it feels empty or void, you're welcome to breathe in light that's supportive to you. Sunlight, moonlight, white lights, pink light, silver light, gold light, whatever calls to you. Breathing that light in. And if it's something else, feel free to invite that in too. Perhaps there's even a little bit of that resource energy that you tapped into earlier that's available and is interested in connecting with this part of the body, potentially. You see, you do you. And just scanning this with all 5 senses and noticing what's different here. And as you do so, I'm going to also run lymphatic drainage, cleaning out any toxins, gunk, waste, low self-esteem, overthinking, overanalyzing. And as we do that, I'm going to link that, connecting that up into the left brain, which has a tendency at times to overthink and overanalyze, if you've ever noticed that. Anybody? Everybody? So as you breathe here, and as we head into this left brain, we do need to do some balancing with that natural planetary energy that hangs out here, Mercury. And looking at those times in which you've made misinterpretations or you've confused things, often driven by the need to figure things out or judge things. And anytime we even are trying to figure out like, what would I like to do, and have to think about that and filter that through any lens of judgment versus acceptance, they can often begin to just stifle that natural expression of the body mind and create excess cloudiness, lack of clarity. So as we work with this, I'm going to unhook that consciousness of thinking and judging, and thinking that thinking and judging themselves are predictable, are helpful, are supportive to this project, and having them lead the way is maybe not as helpful as we might think and judge it to be. Uh, so as we work with this energy, interestingly enough, right in this area of the neck, there's actually points that correlate to acceptance. I'm just going to invite them to connect to those energies of acceptance, rebalancing as well at the same time the hierarchy of the heart brain, head brain, and gut brain, making sure that the head isn't on top, but more so that the heart is leading the way for all the brain structures to be a part of, included, but allowing the other brain parts to be in support of the energy of the heart, and allowing for the left brain to also have a bit of a break. Maybe if you feel so called to, imagine that you can invite in the intellect and just see where it's at. Maybe just check in and see if it's a little tired of having to overthink and overanalyze. And if it is, and if it's not, that's okay. Let it do its thing. But if it is ready, if it's tired, if it's exhausted, if it's just been too busy, yeah, let's see what it might need. What is it willing to receive if it wasn't busy doing this role for you all the time? Would it be willing to have a little vacation at the beach? Would it desire to have a vacation at the beach? Would it desire something else, maybe playing golf, whatever it may be? And if it's open to doing so, you can even invite that energy to do just that. Yeah. And just taking a moment as well to celebrate all of its hard work. It's done such a good job of doing all that it's done for you, in all the ways that the intellect is served, in all the ways that those judgments kept you safe, but may not necessarily need to do so anymore. And just allowing that essence of celebrating the work that it's done, to give it the ease to supportively engage in a different way to serve you and your vitality. And as we work with this, it's beginning to soften really nicely. There's still just a little bit of holding on around this. I need to figure this out. I have to understand it. I have to get it. I have to get it right. Got to get it perfect. Got to figure this out. Yeah. So if there is any energy, either in this moment or just in general in your lives, if you know that you are someone who likes to figure things out and make sense of that, well, how come? In a way that doesn't come from curiosity, that naturally bubbles up, but in a way that you're like, I got to figure that out or else. That type of energy. And that type of energy typically covers up, it occludes, it covers over, it makes curiosity cloudy. Curiosity is from the heart, by the way, in parts. One could argue it's the function of the little kiddo energy, which is fifth house energy, and which is heart energy. But more on that when we get to day 5 tomorrow. Coming back to this need to figure things out. So we're going to do just a little bit of Sedona method work with it all. So I invite you, or reveal and release, as I've often called it on my website there. Inviting in this energy of needing to figure it out, needing to know, having to know, whatever the words are for you around that energy. I'm going to call it the need to figure it out. And breathing into that, the need to figure it out, and welcoming that to be here, welcoming it, allowing it. And as we're welcoming it, it's ending that push-pull that can arise with the defensive nature in which we engage in life at times. Just welcoming it to soften into its presence, its essence and allowing it to be here takes out the fight for it to try to prove how worthy it is of existing. And as we do so, releasing any little bits of judgment in there. That was a lot of words. Let's get out of our heads and try that one more time. Welcoming here any need to figure it out. Much like you would an honored guest. Welcoming this, allowing this to be, observing, noticing what's here. And just for now, could you let this go? And if you're open to it, would you let this go just for now? When? When would you be willing to let this go? And if there's anything that remains, we're going to do one more release in a different fashion. Just welcoming now anything that remains around this need to figure it out. And as you do so, welcoming the stories, the thoughts, the feelings, the judgments, the emotions. Welcoming anything else about that to simply be here. And then welcoming the need to fix or have this be different, to change it, to force it, to drive it away. Welcoming the needs around that too, which might look like having to be smarter, that pressure that we place on ourselves to have to know more so we can prove who it is we believe ourselves to be. Yeah. And then welcoming the sense that this is somehow yours to carry, that it's about you, that it's personal in some way, shape, or form. I can feel it melting away underneath my hand already. Then welcoming the all that is beyond this, welcoming what is beyond this all. And welcoming perhaps even a little bit more than that. If it's tolerable, if you're open to doing so, you can welcome even a little bit more than that. Where I felt the bulk of that soften from was where the skull joins the spine. Having said that, I could feel the connective tissue unwinding from the entire left brain, cortical, limbic, reptilian. And we did a fair amount of unwinding of the connective tissue there, as well as where the skull joined the spine, which is a very sneaky little spot for things to hang out. Now to support this all, we're going to head into the clavicle. And I mentioned earlier about the top portion, often relating to fear, and the bottom, worry. I'm just seeing that sandwich between worry and fear, twisted almost as if it was like two boa constrictors or snakes moving in opposing directions at time. And the collarbone almost being felt like it's being held hostage amongst this worry, this fear. When fear and worry combine, they can form some interesting forms of anxiety. Um, and usually, as this begins to unwind, um, I tend to see it unwind, and I am today as well, starting from the most middle portion out towards the edge of your body, out towards that shoulder. So moving from sternum to shoulder as this unwinds, it's just gently letting go. And as it reaches the outer edge, as it moves towards the shoulder, I just hear the words, I love and forgive. Much like a permissions here, I love and forgive. You could love and forgive everyone if you so desire here. Love and forgive. Yeah, and some of that worry energy as it releases, I'm seeing the battle that I was having between figuring out right and wrong, good and bad. And within that, there's a thin tendril of shame that it was all woven around. I'm just going to pull that out too, relating to childhood shame, in which we were often instructed. We were told what was good, what was bad, what was right, what was wrong. And we were told that often enough that it often became true for who it is we thought that we were. And all of that is creating a little bit of shielding from this heart energy. As that releases, nice. I'm going to tap that in. And I'm just seeing the heart breathe as if for the first time, drinking in life and savoring it to be here without that weight, without that strain, without that pull, without that burden. And as we free up this heart energy, feel free to give that chest a wiggle woggle if that feels right to you. From the back body, where I mentioned that spleen tends to come into play here, we're working with subconscious judgments and how it is you judge yourself in particular. And we're working with the harshest of the harshest ones, self-hatred. Self-hatred. And it's hanging out at the base of the rhomboid, just below the left-hand side of the heart. And then on the right side of the base of the rhomboid, just below the heart, there's apathy energy, which can often keep things quite rigid and stuck. So we actually need to unwind both of these and release both of these at the same time. And then in the very center of it, I see this like little heart energy going like, I'm free, I know I am. But it's having a tough time feeling that freedom because of the blockages that are here. As we release those, we're going to also run circulation of all the basic healing resources through the spleen meridian and allow for the spleen meridian to be restored to its natural state of being, which is meant, I didn't mention this earlier, to lift us up. It's meant to prevent things from falling down. Our worries can drag us down. And the essence of the spleen meridian is meant to create clarity, to lift, to rise, to, if we extend that all the way into the arm motion, we'll see this posture of victoriousness. Yeah? They've shown in neuroscience that even just standing with your arms in some sort of victorious posture, whatever that may be for you, this is a big one for people, that they end up, after only just doing it for a minute or two, performing that much better in any given activity. So allowing the spleen meridian to support this essence to rise, to allow you to rise into the tallness of your dignity of you. And being able to effortlessly express this heart. Those elements that we're circulating here include blood that carry our passion, Nerve, our communication. Lymph, that drains our toxins, gunk, waste, low self-esteem, overthinking, overanalyzing. Chi, or vitality, consciousness or awareness, right down into all the little guys, the electrons, protons, solitons, and neutrons. Also working with the sounds, the colors, the frequencies of all the chakras, major and minor. Endorphins, hormones, and endocannabinoids that lower inflammation, anxiety, depression, help our bodies to heal on multiple systems, including nervous and immune. Also working with circulating and balancing yin and yang. And as we do so, hydrating here, helping this back body, this back of this heart energy to receive water and joy, and releasing the impurities that just don't need to be here anymore. And at the same time, we're going to use all those healthy circulating elements to also support the last little bits of these emotions that are already melting away. The left side's mostly gone. There's just a little bit left on the right here. To support that, I'm going to bring in the energy of the sun and helping that to melt here. But we're also going to balance that with the energy of the moon. This is the natural planetary energy of the spleen. And bringing in the sun and the moon together to form a sort of union. Yeah, as we yoke together, as we bring together sun and moon here, it's reminding me of all the yoga, hatha yoga ways that we refer to that same imagery. As we bring these together into balance here, sun and moon dancing, supporting, like married partners, like committed partners, like committed couples, like the balance, the dance between you and the earth, perhaps. Yeah. And as we bring in this planetary energy of sun into moon, giving new life force into these cycles, these habits, these instincts, to give them illumination. And in turn, allowing for the moon to do what it does best, to support this subconscious processing, even in ways that may not make any linear logical sense. The sun's on board with that. It's happy to support things that don't make sense. They don't need to. They just get to be felt and moved towards, much like a seed that's been planted can rise towards the light with tropism, engaging that same energy of tropism here. And I see that landing, that tropism energy in the nervous system at the base of the spine, and just allowing that to rise and grow naturally, effortlessly, much like that little seedling moving towards the light and through the light that is that core of you. And as it reaches the heart, it's almost as if, again, I just keep seeing this imagery of rebirth for the heart. And as it rises, moving up towards the sphenoid, and on top of that sphenoid, I see the image of a still-ish ocean. It's very content. There's some waves, but it's very, very peaceful. It's peaceful ocean imagery. And it's landing not just in the sphenoid, but also through to the drishti, the gaze, the eyes. Yeah, and the third eye is included here as well. And it continues to rise up through the very crown of the head, governing vessel 20, which governs all of those habit patterns and supporting this capacity to embrace change with peace, this rebirth of the heart, to habitually be present for you as we unwind all those other habit patterns that perhaps were creating cloudiness, lack of clarity here. You have natural habits and cycles that are healthy, supportive, as we're held within the cycles of the 5 elements, as we're held in the cycles of nature itself. Just allowing the body, reminding the body of those natural healthy cycles to be present too, and to see them with greater clarity. Yeah, just giving that all a few slow, deep breaths. We're going to tap that energy in here. And if anybody's thinking, but we didn't release the emotions in the back body the same way we did the other ones, that's okay. I've got it on this end. There's multiple ways. All the roads lead to Rome. Just allowing the body-mind to receive what's here for you now. I spoke to the multiple ways, I think in the last session or two ago. And just allowing this all to settle and be as it is, giving this all a few more gentle, slow breaths, just tapping that in a little bit longer. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all that you are and all that's created you and all that's supported the creation of you, including the land and the earth itself that's formed this body, this mind, this soul, these bones, these muscles. The earth element supports all of your general tissues and muscles. This body is of the earth, and it's meant to be just as clear as the naturescape that you see whenever you're out in it. It's why we feel so good when we're in nature. It's why we like to bathe in that energy. If that calls to you, feel free to continue to embrace nature in whatever way, shape, or form supports you in your day. Perhaps making space, even just to stand in the earth with some gratitude. This is the place from which you were literally created, from which you were born. And thank you to all the intermediaries that helped to support that in human form, known as ancestors. And thank you to you for doing this work, to embrace this body-mind, to embrace nature, to embrace all that's created it, all that's gone into creating you, and having the courage to look at self in this way. It's no small thing. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your courage. And most importantly, thank you for your curiosity. I invite you to bring all that curiosity tomorrow as we dive into the 5th session. Not the end, though. There's still those additional integration sessions that I'll provide on the weekend. Yeah, the schedule is there. I'm going to conclude, as I seem to have found this little habit pattern of concluding with some music. And I hope you enjoy the sweetness of the notes that are here. As you receive this, and you by no means have to stay on the call for this. We are basically out of words at this point. But if you would like to receive this, one option could include just beginning to take a hand to the heart, then a hand to the pelvis. This is your center of vitality. I'm just warming you up for some work that we're going to do in a couple days with this all. So feel free to take your hands to pelvis, to heart, to hara, to heart. Left or right, don't matter, whichever way they land. And really drink this in and receive this. I played with the volume, so I'm hoping that this is more supportive for the recording as well as for the lives. I think I was blowing people's eardrums out a little bit earlier, so apologies for that as I figure out how to DJ. One more. Thank you all for receiving. Thank you all for calling in this work. It's a pleasure to get to serve in this way. It's a pleasure to share time in this way. Such an honor. It's truly a blessing to engage in this way, to connect and to be together in this way. From all the yumminess in this heart, brain, and mind to yours. Mwah. I'm going to stop the recording here, and we'll see you next time.